Mamelodi Sundowns Ladies team were going for their second star, which in the second ever edition of the Women's Champions League. But then they got turned over, in terms of the score at least, 4-0 in the final against Asraf from Morocco. You watched the game last night. What did you make of the performance? And is it all that disappointing as a result?
No, it was incredibly disappointing. In hindsight, nothing led. I mean, if they were going to get beaten 5 and get 2 red cards... And
you're not even a Sundowns supporter.
Yeah, it's just that patriotism that stays with me. Like, girls do it. But analysing the game, the Sundowns ladies started relatively well, if you could say, because they pinned the opposition back here, Asraf, for the first 10 minutes or so. And Asraf just couldn't get out their own half for the longest time. And in the 2 instances, I think, within those 10 minutes that they got out of their own half, they got to the Sundowns box and looked very dangerous. And so there was warning lights already there. But Sundowns just couldn't keep the ball running, or rather have control the ball often enough to hurt the Asraf. They'd play 1 or 2 passes, and when the final ball was supposed to be played by Lash, or 1 or 2, and then it'd be intercepted. It was just not cohesive. It was just very, very bad to watch. It was probably one of their worst displays in the entire campaign, because if you look at their scores, semi-final and quarter-final, they're just dispatching teams. Yeah, just putting teams away. I didn't expect them to do this in the final. But I saw early on, Asraf, there was a lady wearing the jersey number 9. Let's look up her name. This is Jaidi. She's talented. You saw early on, like, even without her getting to the box, she came deep to get the ball. It was okay. This is one of the more differently talented players, or more technically gifted players in the team. And so you saw very early she could be a threat. And then they win the penalty. And then one of their players dispatches that goal. And then Sundowns get the red card. So for me, at that point, the writing was on the wall. You guys are playing horribly. The last thing you needed was to go down and to get a red card. For me, which was not the smartest of things, but I know when things are not going well for you as a team, sometimes it doesn't only rain, it pours. Because Umlauzi, for me, was playing on the right, was all the way on the left when she made that tackle that was reviewed by VAR. She was sent off because I think she was given a yellow card initially, it was reviewed, and then she got the red card. So I was like, Ufuna Nala, to make this particular tackle. And when things are going wrong, it's just for them. So commiserations to Sundowns ladies, but as far with a better team, they were the better team. There are 3 players that I noticed who were just brilliant. So well deserved for them.
Yes, I think the other 2 players would be Tagnot and Doha.
Yes. And
Tagnot and Doha were troubling Sundowns on the left and in that inside left channel like the entire evening. And the surprise for me was, and these are the things I look for from coaches, like when you see that your team is struggling or the other team is exploiting what is a weakness. Maybe it has not been a weakness prior to this game, but in this particular game, it is a weakness and you're struggling there. What are you doing to respond? And there was no response. They were running riot on the left-hand side like the entire evening. Whereas if you then flip the field on the Sundowns left, that was the Sundowns outlet ball. That when we get it to Murifi. And this was also the tactic last season as well, when they went on to win that first ever edition of the Women's Champions League. And Murifi was getting the ball quite a lot, and then she was also getting into dangerous positions. But as you say, the final ball was not quite it. Because the other approach that Sundowns had is you then saw them play some long balls into the box, and they were being chested down, but there was no one coming in running onto those balls, or there was the second phase after that was not very clear in terms of, okay, what do we do from here? So that was disappointing. Beginning of the match had a lot of possession playing the Sundowns way, but it was not penetrative. And the moment that Uroda went down, or was sent off, rightly so, by the way, because that was a dangerous tackle, it was always going to be uphill from there, And the funny thing is, the 2 occasions where they concede the set pieces with the penalty, as well then as with the free kick, there was also a red card, which is a bit more questionable. The ref did not have a good night. But this is not down to the ref. In terms of the first red card, definitely. In terms of other decisions, those were questionable. But also, Sundowns did not help themselves because they were like the tackles did not make any sense. Like, why are we going in like that? Especially, this is Africa. You know, there's no reason to think that because it's the women's game, it's going to be any different. You are playing in the north against a team from the north, and you don't want to give the ref a chance to be the one who is influencing that game, and they did that. And the one occasion where Untapo kicks the one lady in the box, it's a penalty, rightly so. And then the next occasion where there is the red card and there is the set piece by the box, that one was disappointing for me, because when you see Jaidi break from the group, there's no one near her, Chuck, when she's taking the shot, and it goes through the hands of Wandile. But then that one you can forgive because it was hit really well. It was a rocket. The third or the fourth goal, I think it was the third goal, where she fumbles it. That is not typically her, And even the penalty, I thought, man, maybe on a different night she actually gets to it. There's a little more spring in her step, but not quite the night for anyone. Not singling her out as the bad player in this performance, because even someone like the centre mid, Schmidt is. She's the girl that they rely on to actually put in those accurate long passes. And she was nowhere last night. She was not influencing that game from the middle. So overall, it was a disappointing performance. The result makes it worse, but it's not one where you're you know what, they did not deserve the scoreline.
Yeah.
There are the 2 red cards, and there is a disappointing performance that, as South African fans, or as Rulani, I think, has said famously before, that this is the wrong game to lose. There are the right games to lose. I don't want to say apparently, because I know what it means by that.
Yeah.
This was the worst time for Mamelodi Sundowns Ladies to have their worst performance.
Yeah, it was, and it was disappointing.